She's not asking because she's curious. She's asking because she's deciding whether you're safe or significant. Two questions: quiet, ordinary. And if you answer them wrong, she'll never tell you why she lost interest. Listen closely. When a woman is drawn to an older man, it's rarely about age. It's about gravity, about whether you move through the world with a calm center or whether you're still begging life to validate you. Desire, especially from a woman who knows herself, doesn't show up loudly. It observes, it tests, and the tests are never framed as tests. The first thing you need to understand is this: women don't test men to trap them, they test to locate them, to figure out where you stand internally when no one is applauding you. An older man, in her psychology, represents something specific: emotional containment, not control, containment. The ability to hold pressure without leaking insecurity all over the room. So when she asks you that first question, one that sounds like small talk, maybe even playful, she's not listening to the content of your answer. She's listening to your nervous system, your tone, your pace, whether you rush to impress or pause to consider, whether your sense of self collapses the moment she leans in. Here's the truth most men were never taught: attraction isn't built on saying the right thing, it's built on not abandoning yourself while you're saying it. Older men who trigger deep desire don't perform wisdom, they embody it. They don't over explain, they don't compete with younger men, they don't apologize for their preferences or rush to prove relevance. And women can feel that immediately. Your silence speaks, your comfort with not being chosen speaks even louder. The unease you feel right now, that tightening in your chest, is important because it means you've been answering questions your whole life without realizing what was actually being asked of you. You were trained to impress, to justify, to convince. But desire doesn't come from convincing, it comes from coherence, from your words matching your spine. And this is where many men lose her without ever knowing when it happened. They mistake interest for interrogation, they mistake curiosity for judgment. So they scramble, they offer credentials, stories, achievements. They try to prove they're worth wanting. And in doing so, they reveal the very thing she's testing for: whether your worth is internally sourced or borrowed from her reaction. An older man who understands female psychology doesn't fear these moments. He recognizes them as invitations, not to perform, but to remain grounded. He knows that attraction grows in the space where he doesn't chase the outcome, where he's present, not persuasive. She's not measuring your success, she's measuring your self trust. And the moment you understand that, the dynamic shifts. Because now you're no longer trying to pass her test. You're showing her what it feels like to be with a man who doesn't need to. And that, more than age, more than looks, more than status, is what makes her lean in instead of pull away. If you're ready, we'll go deeper. The second question comes when she's already leaning toward you, but hasn't surrendered yet. It sounds innocent, almost reflective. And most men fail it because they answer from pride instead of presence. Here's the pattern. When a woman desires an older man, she wants to know one thing above all else: are you emotionally sovereign, or are you secretly asking me to complete you? So she asks a question that circles your past, your relationships, your regrets, your worldview. Something like, what do you think went wrong with your last relationship? Or, do you think people really change? Again, she's not collecting facts, she's reading responsibility. Men who haven't done the internal work answer this by defending themselves. They blame an ex, they intellectualize. They sound sharp, logical, even insightful, but emotionally hollow. What she feels in her body is distance, because blame signals immaturity, no matter how polished the language is. An older man who ignites desire does something radically different. He doesn't posture. He doesn't self-flagellate either. He owns his story without drowning in it. He speaks with clarity, not bitterness. He shows that he has metabolized his experiences instead of dragging them into the room like unresolved ghosts. This is critical. Women are exquisitely sensitive to whether a man has processed his pain or merely repackaged it. When you answer that second question from a grounded place, something subtle happens. Her shoulders relax, her voice softens, because you've just answered the question beneath the question. Will you make me pay for wounds I didn't cause? Desire collapses when a woman senses she'll have to become your therapist, your mother, or your redemption arc. Older men who are deeply attractive never outsource their emotional regulation. They've already done the work of sitting with their failures, their shame, their fear of irrelevance, so they don't need a woman to save them from it. And here's the part most men miss. Confidence isn't certainty. It's tolerance for ambiguity. When she asks about your future, your purpose, or what you want now, she's not expecting a perfectly mapped plan. She's watching whether you panic when the answer isn't clean. A man who rushes to sound impressive reveals anxiety. A man who can pause, reflect, and answer honestly, even imperfectly, reveals strength. This is why older men who are desired don't chase youth. They don't compete. They don't try to reclaim who they were. They're rooted in who they are now. And that rootedness is intoxicating because it offers something rare: emotional safety without emotional dependency. She's asking herself, can I rest here? Not, will he entertain me? When you answer her second question with ownership and calm, you're telling her, without saying it, that you're not looking to be chosen to feel whole. You're choosing because you already are. And that's the moment desire deepens, quietly, irreversibly. Now, here's the question for you. When you're asked about your past or your purpose, do you answer to protect your ego or to express your truth? Drop your answer in the comments. Like the video if this hits somewhere uncomfortable. Subscribe if you want psychology most men never hear. And share this with a friend who keeps wondering why attraction fades before it even begins. There's a moment, almost imperceptible, when a woman decides whether an older man is dangerous in the right way or exhausting in the familiar way. It happens after the questions, after the answers, in the space where nothing is being said. Most men don't realize this, but attraction doesn't deepen during conversation. It deepens during regulation, during silence, during how you exist, when you're not trying to steer the moment. This is where female psychology turns ruthless. If she senses that your calm is an act, she will feel it immediately. If your confidence disappears the moment the energy shifts, she will pull back without explanation. Because what she's testing now isn't what you say, it's what you can hold. Older men who are truly desired don't chase emotional highs. They don't escalate intimacy to secure interest. They don't rush closeness to avoid uncertainty. They allow tension to breathe, and that restraint is precisely what makes her feel more. Why? Because restraint signals abundance, not of women, but of self. A woman who is drawn to an older man is often drawn because she's tired, tired of volatility, tired of emotional unpredictability, tired of men whose desire feels like hunger instead of choice. When you stay grounded, when you don't lean forward energetically every time she softens, you're showing her something rare, that her presence is welcomed, not required. This is where many men sabotage themselves. They sense her interest, and suddenly they shift. They become warmer, more eager, more available. They start explaining more, texting faster, offering more of themselves than was asked for. And while this seems generous, what she feels is imbalance, pressure, a subtle emotional debt she never agreed to. Desire withers under obligation. An older man who understands this doesn't withdraw either. He remains steady, curious but not consumed, interested but not invested beyond reality. He doesn't collapse into fantasy. He stays in the moment. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't want to be the center of your world. They want to be invited into it. When your life feels full, when your emotional state doesn't spike or dip based on her reactions, she relaxes. Because now she's not being asked to manage you. She's free to desire you. This is also why she watches how you respond to boundaries. A delayed reply, a canceled plan, a shift in mood. These are not rejections, they're data points. And older men who pass this test don't take it personally. They don't punish. They don't sulk. They don't demand reassurance. They remain unchanged. That steadiness communicates something deeper than words ever could. I am not fragile. And fragility, emotional fragility, is the fastest way to kill desire, no matter your age, status, or experience. If you want to know why some older men feel magnetic without trying, this is why. They don't ask women to regulate them. They don't ask women to fill them. They don't ask women to prove anything. They stand where they are, and from that place, attraction either grows or it doesn't. And they're at peace with both outcomes. That peace is not indifference, it's power. By the time she reaches the end of her evaluation, she already knows. Not because you impressed her, but because you didn't disappear when it mattered. The final truth about those two questions is this: they were never about compatibility. They were about containment, about whether your identity stays intact under intimacy, whether closeness makes you clearer or smaller. When a woman desires an older man, she's unconsciously asking, if I lean on you, will you collapse? If I challenge you, will you retaliate? If I pull back, will you chase? Your answers, your pauses, your posture, all of it has already spoken. Men who pass this don't feel victorious. They feel calm because they weren't trying to win. They were being observed in their natural state. And here's the part that almost no one tells you. Desire that lasts is built on predictability of self, not excitement. She wants to know that the man she meets in uncertainty is the same man she'll meet in conflict, boredom, stress, and silence. Older men who are deeply attractive don't reinvent themselves for desire. They reveal themselves, and that consistency is what makes a woman feel safe enough to want more. If you've ever wondered why some women seem to open effortlessly with certain men, this is why. Those men are not asking to be understood. They're not asking to be validated. They're not outsourcing their emotional stability. They're already home inside themselves. And when a woman senses that, something in her softens, not because she needs him, but because she can choose him without fear. So here's the equation I want you to sit with. Do you bring calm into a woman's nervous system, or do you secretly ask her to calm yours? That one answer will explain every attraction you've lost and every connection you've never been able to sustain. Write your answer in the comments. Like this video if it forced you to reflect instead of react. Subscribe if you want psychology that doesn't flatter, but transforms. And share this with a friend who keeps mistaking attention for attraction and wonders why it never lasts.